Welcome to Absolute Trust Talk with your host, Kirsten Howe. Absolute Trust Talk brings you tips, tools, advice, and interviews to help you build a reliable knowledge base on estate planning, business, and finance to start preparing for your future today.
Hello, and welcome to Absolute Trust Talk. I'm Kirsten Howe, and joining me here is Jessica Colbert, one of our associate attorneys. This is our video podcast at Absolute Trust Counsel. Our last couple of episodes, we've been talking about selecting a successor trustee, and we talked about the qualities that you should be looking for, and we talked about the pluses and minuses of naming a child or multiple children. And now we're going to talk about another alternative, which is to name a third party, someone who is not a child. And there's a couple of options there, and we'll go through them each one at a time. So, Jessica, when I say naming a third party, what are we talking about?
It could be another relative, not one of your children, or it could be a friend. We also do like to talk to our clients about licensed professional fiduciaries.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what that means for the benefit of our listeners who aren't familiar with that.
A licensed professional fiduciary is a professional. It's there in the name. They serve as a professional trustee. They have to go through a specialized education. They're licensed. They have to go through background checks, fingerprints, so you can trust that they're a good option.
Yeah, these are people who, this is their business. This is what they do. They're not lawyers, but it's analogous to that, or it's analogous to being a CPA. You have a business being the trustee for people who are not your family members. And if anybody listening is interested in learning a little more about that, they have their own professional organization. It's called Professional Fiduciary Association of California, or PFAC is what they call it. And they have a website. You can go read about them. Now, choosing a licensed professional fiduciary has, like everything, its pluses and minuses. Let's first focus on the pluses.
Yes, so some of the positives is that they know what they're doing. This is their job. They do trust administrations every single day. And so that makes it faster. The administration can go by faster, a little bit more efficiently, because they do know what they're doing. And also because they know what they're doing, it usually tends to save on legal fees because they don't have to consult with an attorney so much. They know what to do. They can do a lot of it on their own. And also by naming a professional and maybe not a family member, it can take the drama out of it. In our previous episode, we had talked about, some conflicts that could happen by naming a child. And by doing this, you remove that.
Right. This is just someone doing a job. The kids are not already teed up to be mad. And I would say, I just really want to re-emphasize that they save a lot of money in legal fees. We have professional fiduciaries that we represent. They are our clients. They come to us for legal help with the trust administrations. And we do a little bit, and then we hardly see them, and they'll come back for little issues here and there. But our family member trustees need a lot of help. They just don't know what they're doing. So this can be a nice economical option, believe it or not. But speaking of money, one of the objections that we hear a lot from our clients whenever we suggest hiring a professional to be the trustee is, they charge money for their services. I don't like that.
Yes, they do charge for their services. But what a lot of people may not realize is that any trustee can charge for their services. So if you name a child, if you name your brother, those people can also be compensated for their services.
Yeah, and they should be, because as we've said numerous times, this is a lot of work, and people have real lives, and this eats into their real life, and they should be compensated for that. So the objection to a professional because they charge, I have a hard time with that one. But okay, so let's talk about the minuses associated with using a licensed professional fiduciary.
Yes. So many licensed professional fiduciaries tend to be solos, and they also tend not to be, very young. So there is a concern that if you name someone to be your successor trustee, many decades later, when they might need to step in, they may not be working anymore.
Right. They're human beings, and they retire and they die. All those things that happen to human beings. One thing that we have found our clients like sometimes when they're thinking about naming a professional is, instead of naming a given professional, Jessica, maybe you can finish that up.
Yes. Instead of naming the professional themselves, you instead can give the authority to pick that professional to someone else. So you can say, my daughter will appoint a licensed professional fiduciary to serve as trustee. So at that time, someone that you trust can find someone who's currently working and appoint that person to be trustee.
Right. That way you're not giving the job of trustee to a child, which is what we're trying to avoid, but you're just making that trustee choice in real time as opposed to 20 or 30 years ahead of time. So in addition to a relative or a friend or a licensed professional fiduciary, there's one more alternative. Jessica, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
That alternative is a corporate trustee, and most large banks have a trust department that can serve as a corporate trustee.
Right. So instead of just one individual, you would actually have, Wells Fargo as your corporate trustee. Just an example. I'm not advertising for Wells Fargo, anybody. Okay. So there definitely are pluses and minuses here, of course.
Many corporate trustees have minimums, so they won't take on a trust administration unless the trust assets hit a certain minimum for them.
Right. Another sort of related aspect is corporate trustees sometimes do not like to deal with certain types of assets. Some of them don't like real estate, and as soon as they become the trustee, they're going to want to sell all the real estate. So if that's, if you're looking at corporate trustees and you have certain types of assets and you really want to keep those in the family, you might interview them and just find out what are your policies about these assets.
Another possible minus is the fees. The corporate trustee will also charge their own fees for the service.
Yeah. I believe the corporate trustees generally will charge a percentage fee. So if the total value of the trust estate is, let's say $2 million, they'll charge a fee that's maybe around 1%, maybe 1.25% of that. And then if the trust is an ongoing trust that carries on for years and years, they will annually charge some sort of a fee, and it's usually a percentage. So, just need to be aware of that and be okay with that.
But on the plus side, these are more likely to be around forever. It's not guaranteed, but, comparing to a licensed professional fiduciary, a corporate trustee is more likely to be around when the time comes.
Yeah, but it's not guaranteed. I actually had a case maybe 5 or 6 years ago where a corporate trustee was named and they disappeared. The trust document was 30, 40 years old, and that corporate trustee was gone. We actually had to go to court and get a different trustee appointed. But I think that's rare. I don't think that happens very often. Okay, so what would you say is the bottom line advice from all of this conversation about selecting a successor trustee?
Think about all of your options. And, if you have children, talk to your children during the planning process to get their honest feedback on if they would, want to serve as trustee. If, the children think that they could work well together as trustees, just get their feedback. Maybe none of them would even want to. And then you'll consider doing one of the professional options. It's just important to, keep that conversation open.
Yeah. And I would add on to that, if you're having conversations with multiple children, it might be informative, illuminating, maybe even to talk to them one-on-one, because you might be surprised. You might hear some things that you really had no awareness about. And those are important facts to take into account when you're making this very important decision. Okay. Thanks, Jessica. This was very informative, I hope, to our audience. And I look forward to connecting with you next time.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Absolute Trust Talk Live. If you enjoyed listening in, then don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may listen by searching Absolute Trust Talk. While you're there, we would also love for you to leave us a review. And then why not share your favorite episodes with family, friends, or colleagues too? You can find all of our shows and corresponding show notes by visiting absolutetrustcounsel.com. You'll also find a variety of other free resources, including our ebooks, videos, blogs, presentations, and more. If you need help with your estate planning or administration, we also offer a free discovery call to help get the process started. You can find more information on booking your session by visiting absolutetrustcounsel.com/scheduling. If you join us for the broadcast, you can submit questions during the show. But if not, don't worry. You can always get in touch with us by sending a quick message to info@absolutetrustcounsel.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you soon. This podcast is not meant to take the place of legal advice from an attorney
and does not create an attorney-client relationship. If you do have a legal question or issue, please consult with an attorney.